All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening, wherever you are. Just wanted to say thank you for joining us for another episode of the Nevada Trappers Association quarterly podcast. Um, Kind of a format change. Initially, when we started this podcast, we were really looking at it to be a monthly thing. But let's be honest. This summer got I don't know how this summer got so busy. It just turned out that really didn't have the opportunity and time to record on a monthly basis. And then, of course, if we're being completely honest, we're getting into trapping season, which means that we're going to have far less time on our hands anyway. So, really, what we're looking at is a quarterly podcast or doing one on an as needed basis. For example, if let's say there's a wildlife advisory board meeting in Carson City to talk about coyote calling contest or something, we could throw up a quick podcast to, let people know that that's coming out. And how they can participate and that type of thing. But for the most part, we're looking at October, January, April, and July. Uh, that's kind of a good breakout for the season, kind of preseason, kind of post middle of the season. Just kind of do a quick check in, see how things are going with everybody. Post season, post first sale, a lot of good stuff to talk about there. Then, of course, as we get into the summer, start talking about preseason activities, scouting, those type of things that will be of interest to everybody. So, with that, I'm joined with Neil Cheney, the Nevada Trappers Association president. We're going to today the topic of conversation mostly is going to revolve around the summer rendezvous that we just had August 2nd, 3rd at the Walker River recreation area, and probably talk a little bit about some preseason stuff, but mainly there. We want to get this thing out there because, like I said, we intended to get one out there in August, and then August turned into September. September turned into October 1st. So here we are. Hey Neil, how you doing?
Good. I'm doing good.
Awesome. How's your preseason trapping stuff coming along? Are you ready?
I haven't started a thing. Um, like you were
Gotta
saying,
boil some traps.
like you were saying before, we've been slammed. Can't make this happen. This podcast even happen. But I am looking forward to hopefully having one weekend in October to be able to get some stuff ready.
That's good because this year bobcat season. I mean, personally, I like coyotes, but don't get me wrong, a bobcat's nice, and that starts November 1st. So
Mm-hmm.
the numbers must be pretty good. I wish I had the most recent numbers out of Endow, but they have to be good if it's November 1st.
Yeah. Talking to Russell about it earlier in the year, he said his matrix that he uses was showing a little bit shorter season, but trapper demand was down. Like there wasn't as many trappers out on the landscape the last couple of years. So he said with that factored in, it made sense to do a full 120-day season this year because it shouldn't have any problems as far as population wise goes.
Right. Now, and you know, Russell would be a great person to get on the podcast at some point to have him kind of go through his calculations and kind of demonstrate just how robust and how good Nevada's data is when it comes to bobcats. Because it his presentation where he went through how he does calculations, how he understands the numbers that were taken last year, uh,
Mm-hmm.
were it was eye opening. It really was. It was, and the fact that we've got 35 years of data to
Yep.
back up what we're doing, which is unheard of.
He does a really good job laying it out so we can understand it as well.
Yeah. Now, when he was talking about not a lot of demand from trappers, I mean that's obviously related to the fact that the fur market isn't that hot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall what the average bobcat price was last year?
I think around 390 here in Nevada.
And somebody said coyotes were like the average was like 20-25 bucks.
Yeah, coyotes have tanked the last few years. They're really low.
What are your thoughts? I mean, don't get me wrong. If I was trapping for money, I'd be broke. But um, it's not about money, obviously. But money's nice, pays for gas. Well, I mean, what's your thoughts on the future? Do you think it's ever going to come back?
There's really no way to know. I really don't understand how the fur market works. I read all the reports in the magazines. I call and talk to fur buyers. You talk to one fur buyer, they give you good news. You talk to the next one, he gives you bad news. It's just it's really hard to get a handle on it unless you're deep in the middle of all that stuff. And um, from from the work and learning I've been trying to do the last couple of years, I'm very hopeful for this coming season. Um,
So, as I understand it, you can tell me how way off base I am or if I'm close. I mean, most of the fur buying is going to China or Russia. And because of the geopolitical situations that we're looking at nowadays, that market's just, they're not buying from us at this moment.
mhm.
Uh, is that fairly accurate? I mean, the pandemic caused a huge problem, obviously, but
As
the war in Ukraine and
yeah, as far as I understand, that is Russia and China is most of it. I know the last couple of years, buyers have like found some different avenues in Europe and Greece where they can offload some bobcats. Uh, as far as coyote wise, I know coyotes jumped up. I don't know when it was, 4 or 5 years ago. They were averaging $100 a piece, and then it was because a high end coat company, Canada Goose, was
okay,
using coyote pelts as trim on their hoods, and they were buying them for good prices, and then they swore off of coyote fur to appease PETA, and then the prices tanked after that. So, but from what I looked at this year on the FHA auction in I think it was FHA in Canada, they had like 90 high 90 percentage of clearance of Western cats, and that hasn't happened in a few years. So that should give everyone some hope for this season.
no, that's a good sign. No, absolutely. Okay. Well, I think the next topic we really want to jump to is the summer rendezvous.
Hmm.
Um, so just in as a little bit of background, last year's rendezvous, well, last year's rendezvous was in the Rubies, right?
Hmm.
And I was talking to my memory's terrible. The president at the time, I feel terrible.
Hmm.
What was his name?
Lance.
Lance. There we go. I was talking to Lance. I was like, Lance. I said, who put this thing on? He goes, well, I did. I go and I asked him. I said, well, who's got next year's? And he goes, and it was a tone in his voice. He's like, well, that's probably me. So I thought, well, let me do something. So I helped out. And I tell you, leading up to leading up to that rendezvous, I was stressed. I was like, man, there's gonna be like 5 dudes showing up, but it turned out to be really, really well. In my opinion, I mean, we did it August 2nd, 3rd at
Hmm.
the Walker River Recreation Area, which I thought turned out really well. Uh, huge shout out to the staff down there. The staff down there was more than willing to work with us in many different aspects to
Hmm.
make sure we were successful, to make sure that everybody was set up in a way that made sense, to provide all the opportunity we needed and all the space we needed to put everything on. So
Hmm.
a huge shout out to them, and hopefully, I mean, I think it makes sense in the future to kind of partner with them in a way.
Hmm.
Um, builds a good relationship.
Hmm.
Uh, And so next year, real quick, before we talk about really what happened at this year's rendezvous, next year is the West. Can you talk a little bit about what's going on next year?
Yeah, next year we'll be hosting the National Trappers Association Western Convention.
Oh,
Right now, it looks like we're going to be reserving a place in Spring Creek, Nevada. They're
okay.
just outside of Elko. It's right on the I-80 corridor, easy for people to travel and get to. And it's a big enough venue, I think, for us. So I think it'll be good. It's going to be a lot of work.
Is it
Talking.
like the May time frame?
Um, yeah. So we've had to change. We've kind of been working 3 weeks from the end of June to the no, yeah. the start of June to the end of May,
Okay.
somewhere in there. I know we got the date. I'm pretty sure we got the date nailed down with Brian Nelson, what works best for him. But I don't know it off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and look in my emails to be able to get the right answer.
Well, I mean, I think it makes sense to wait till probably the January podcast. That way, everything's absolutely concrete,
Yeah.
and people can make plans based on that.
Hmm. Yeah. So I think it's gonna be a good time. I'm
Can you
looking.
kind of describe the westerns? Can you kind of give folks an idea what that's all about?
So if you've never been to a western, they're actually pretty dang fun. I went to the one in Rock Springs two years ago. They have all the stuff. It's just like a state, the Nevada State Rendezvous, but on a much larger scale. There's a lot more people. There is a whole lot of vendors that show up. We were in a giant room when I went and I set up a booth for the Nevada Trappers Association in there, and it was like this giant convention hall with the entire place was filled with vendors. I couldn't
Hmm.
even tell you how many there were. There was all kinds of states, all kinds of businesses, lure makers, stretcher makers, trap makers, everything. There's tons of vendors, tons of people. They have a nice dinner, an auction. They have raffles. They have like trap setting contests, the skillet toss. They have all kinds of stuff going on. They're a lot of fun.
Very cool. So, so as a result of the westerns being out here next year, we're not going to have a specific Nevada State Trappers Association rendezvous. We'll go ahead and do that the following year, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yep, we're
And
gonna.
just for the record, I'll go ahead. What's that?
I was gonna say we're gonna count the Western as our rendezvous
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah. And just because I would really like to leverage some lessons I learned from this past year, I'll go ahead and volunteer. As long as I'm not dead before then for some reason, I'll go ahead and volunteer to set it up for 26, I guess. Because I did learn a lot of lessons this year.
If only you'd have known what you were getting yourself into when you were talking to Lance.
I know. I tell you, I, that was like I said. So back to the summer's rendezvous. I was stressed. I really wasn't sure because the feedback I got from folks. I mean, I'm not being discouraging, but if I'd got more feedback prior about who was coming and who wasn't coming, I would have probably been a lot less stressed. But really, I didn't get a lot of feedback from folks, so it was like a crapshoot. Like the night before, I'm
Mm-hmm.
watching like headlights, and I'm like, man, there's not very many people here. And then out of nowhere, people started showing up.
Yeah, it turned out to be awesome. There was plenty of people there. It was fun. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, one of the lessons I learned that I want to incorporate next time is when people are like checking in, to ask them, how did you find out about this? Did you find out through the Facebook page? Did you find out from flyers that were put up? Did you find out because I was posting like a madman on social media every couple weeks? Just
Mm,
because, I mean, in my mind, if nobody showed up because they saw a flyer someplace, at a sporting goods store, well then we probably don't need to put out flyers next time.
yeah.
Maybe that's old school and it just doesn't make sense these days.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, But if people did show up, then because of that, then that would make sense to go ahead and continue doing. Um, so let's see. On the obviously, I mean the rendezvous itself was really kind of a 1 day event.
Mm-hmm.
People showed up on a Friday, started on Saturday, and then they left on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the stuff we did while during the rendezvous itself?
Yeah. Let me pull up this. I had the demo schedule on my phone here so that I wouldn't get anything messed up because it was so long ago. Um,
I know I was thinking about that. I was like, man, I don't even remember.
yeah. Uh, we started the day off 9 a.m. I did a bobcat handling demo. Answered some questions. There was a lot of people that chimed in with their ideas. It actually turned out pretty good. The best part that I've learned about when I volunteered to do my first demo is you do a demo. You think you're going there to help teach people learn how to like in my case, do some fur handling. I think I've learned 10 times more from doing the demos than I ever would have sitting and listening to one, because if you volunteer to do one of these, afterwards you got like 15 people coming up to you, hey, I do it this way, I do all the same things except this,
Yeah.
and it's like, holy crap, I wish I'd have thought of something like that. That's a good idea. So that's a little cheat code for you guys that are listening. If you want to learn something and you feel a little bit confident in it and you want to learn more, volunteer for a demo. We're always like, we're not going to turn you away.
You
Come
know
and
that
do a demo, and if you're struggling, there's always old timers that have been to the last 40 rendezvous, and they always are
the
helping.
cool thing about that, though, the really cool thing about that I picked up on was even the old timers who'd been to the last 40 rendezvous were more than willing to sit there and listen to what we had to say, or what you had to say, or any of the demonstrators had to say. And it wasn't like they sat back like, I already know this stuff.
Yeah.
No, everybody was willing to glean information from anybody.
And then as soon as someone had a question, like I would answer what I would do, and then someone would raise their hand and say, I do it this way, kind of turn into a roundtable talk that has a whole bunch of different perspectives, and you learn a ton.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
It's a
The
great.
only the only suggestion I would make for next year, and we got to find the person who's willing to sacrifice a bobcat, would be to have a bobcat that we could actually use during the demo. And with prices down, we'd probably find somebody.
What I tried to do, which I didn't follow up on it very well, so it's my fault, but I talked to a couple of guys from Endow and asked them if there was like
That's a good
one that
idea.
was hit on the road, or one that got confiscated, if they would freeze it and save it, and then something I could use for my demo next time. But
That's a
um,
really good idea. I hadn't
in
thought
my
about that.
case, when I went to Idaho and did a fur handling demo for one of their, it was actually at one of their fur sales. They do demos throughout the day for their fur sale. They have in Idaho, you have to take a trapper's ed course,
Hmm.
and so they brought a bobcat in. The Department of Wildlife in Idaho brought a handful of frozen animals that had been
Really?
confiscated or were incidental catches that the trapper turned in, and they went and took it. And I had a bobcat that they thought out, that I got to skin, flesh, and stretch in front of a whole class of people who were there, that whether
That's
they
cool.
had experience in trapping or not, they had to take that course in order to be able to trap. And oh, I thought it was awesome. It was great.
We just quick sidebar. What's your thoughts on that requirement? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's overburdensome? Do you think it?
Both. I think that it is definitely a beneficial thing. It can cut off some potential problems before they start, as far as being able to educate people what what is like a good type of photo to post on social media and stuff in the
Yeah.
class, and different things like that. But I mean, at the same time, it's not so much of a good thing that at least me and the few people that I've talked to with the on our board feel that it's something we should push for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it comes down to it, and we have to get it, it's not a bad thing, but it's not something that's so good that we need to try to open that can of worms.
No, no, I definitely. I mean, if you're a trapper who comes from the state and you got 20 years under your belt, it's
Yeah,
it's a bit overburdensome. But for a new trapper, like a youth or something, it might make a lot of sense
for sure.
potentially.
And there's ways that we've kind of talked about, and ideas that we can use to help with that, is like gear more towards some youth stuff. Like we had a week before the rendezvous, we had the youth expo that the Trappers Association put on. We invited all kinds of NGOs across the state, and they came and helped. And we had about 50 youth there that went through some trapping demos, duck hunting, shooting, rimfire range, and archery range. And before they were allowed to go to any one of the stations, any one of the demo stations, they had to listen to it was actually my dad. He's been an NDOW hunter safety instructor for like 35 years. He gave a little ethics and gun safety and bow safety talk to the kids and made them all, they all had to sit there and listen to it before they were allowed to leave and go to their stations.
That's cool.
And I think stuff like that's kind of something that we're gonna start doing every year, and things like that can help get to the youth.
Well, I mean, the youth are what's important, right? Because you and I are going to trap. We'll trap to the day we're dead.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, you're certainly the one of the younger in the generation,
Yeah.
probably somewhere in the middle. But if we don't generate that interest with the young kids, it give it 50 years, it'll be gone.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so I think after that was Jake Sylvester's Beaver demo, wasn't it?
Yep. Yep. Jake did a beaver demo. I wasn't able to make it to any of the demos that were down by the water, which I think was every other demo. Um, I had my grandpa with me, and we just kind of hung out. I didn't want to leave him there alone, so we just kind of hung out there and helped plan and figure out what we were going to do for dinner and get things set up that way, food wise. So,
Well, so I did attend Jake's demo, and first of all, if I recall correctly, that was kind of an on spot thing, wasn't it? We like, hey, we needed somebody to do a beaver demo, and he's like, yeah, I'll do a beaver demo.
Jake's we planned. It was the coyote demo. It was Don Norda
Oh,
that we
that's
threw
right.
under the
Okay.
bus.
No, Jake did a tremendous job, and that was one of the other things about doing it there at Walker River was we had the river there, so you could legitimately demonstrate how to do a good beaver set.
Mm-hmm.
And Jake, of course, pulled it off. He made that look good, made it look easy.
Awesome. Awesome.
What
Yeah.
else was going on?
After Jake, we had Dave Stowwater and Bob Sullivan do their bobcat, and I think they were gonna do a coyote trapping, but they turned it into like an all. Was it an all predator or was it just bobcat?
Yeah, it was kind of an all around deal, if I
Yeah,
remember correctly.
yeah, but
One thing I really liked about that was they spent quite a bit of time talking about visual attractors. And they
mm-hmm.
had a lot of good stat. They had a lot of displays on what they would use and what they wouldn't use.
Dave is very resourceful. He was telling me on over the phone before the rendezvous some of the things he uses, and I was like, "Holy crap!" Dave is on a whole other level. He can put some iron in the ground, and he can pull in the animals, and he pulls in a very very impressive mixed bag of fur every year.
Huh, I'll be darned. He done in the Vegas area, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a whole different. I was down there I was down there about a month ago for work, and that's all. That's as different from here and where I am in Lyon County as Elko is from Tonopah. It's just a completely different world down there.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think Dave commented on that. He commented on the fact that this doesn't look like the Vegas area to me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I think he has a lot more public interaction down there as well.
Yeah, no, it's true. Good point.
He definitely
Um,
branched out.
well, who do we have other than that? After that, what do we have?
We had Jed Ryback, the Cat King. He gave us
That's
the cat.
right.
So
That
yeah,
was good.
if you want to talk a little bit about his demo, and Don Norda was right after that, the Coyotes. I wasn't able to watch them.
So I think I stepped away for the coyote demo, but I
Okay.
was there for Jed's Bobcat, and he had a couple good displays set up, actual physical representations of what he would use for sets,
Mm-hmm.
which is really good. It provided a good visual opportunity to see what he was looking at when he was looking at a spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he's just a wealth of information, anyways. So
He does.
yeah,
He knows a lot about bobcats. I know he doesn't use a lot of scent. He catches a lot of cats.
yeah, no, it's
He,
there's often times where I'm out there and I'm doing something. I'm like, man, I am way overthinking this.
yeah.
And to be fair, I mean, even for coyotes, I think I overthink it too much. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, because admittedly, I mean I'm almost superstitious when it comes to how I approach coyotes,
Mm-hmm.
which is really only applicable to those old dogs who've been like almost caught a couple times. 90% of them are just they're last year's litter, maybe the year before. They're not really educated, and you could probably trap them fairly easy. But I'm I'm pretty religious about how I approach it. Uh, and after watching some other people when they do it, that's the thing is you see other people demonstrate, and you're like, really? That's it?
Yeah.
What am I doing? I'm like, I'm spending way too much time making it far harder than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we had that. So we had the Bobcat demo with Jed. We had with the Coyote one, and then Ty Eastman. He did a demonstration for fly fishing, which I thought was kind of a cool little addition.
Yep. That's Ty, one of Ty's main things he loves in life is fishing. I get texts from him, probably 3 or 4 times a year. Hey, how are the fish biting at Eagle Valley Reservoir, just east of town where I live? And because
Yeah.
he's another Clark County guy, lives down in Moapa area, and he likes to come up here around Pioche and do some fishing. So he
Well, not
before
only can he not
week.
only can he fish, but he can cook too. Because when we
Oh,
got to the potluck portion, of man, his Dutch oven potatoes. Oh, those were spectacular.
oh yeah. Oh yeah, he goes all in with everything he does. I know before the rendezvous, he took a week vacation and just traveled across the state fly fishing the whole time camping. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to trapping, fishing. It don't matter.
Yep.
Ty goes all in. He's a good friend to have. He's a good person to talk to.
Well, and that's a good point because I mean, honestly, I don't know that many people, and I just don't associate necessarily with groups of people. Yeah, but during that rendezvous, I became, I got to know Ty really well. I
Hmm.
got to know quite a few people really well, and so that was another just aspect of the rendezvous that there's good information, there's interesting demonstrations, but to be honest with you, I think 50% of it is just the camaraderie, just an opportunity to socialize with other trappers, which I think is probably almost the most valuable aspect of the rendezvous, in my opinion.
Oh, 100% agree.
What
100.
else did we have?
As far as demos goes, that was it. We had a little meeting, our award ceremony, and dinner the rest of the evening. So
Can you talk about the awards a little bit?
yeah, so every year at our board of directors meeting we have in June, uh, we go through and each director, well, maybe not every director, but as a group, we throw some names out, like of different awards. We always give out like President's Award. We try to induct someone in the Hall of Fame and a Trapper of the Year award. So everyone we kind of brainstorm, throw names out, decide, make our arguments. Usually there's not much arguing. It's just, yeah, that definitely that guy's deserving of it, and you know what I mean. Or
Mhm.
instead of Trapper of the Year, what about President's Award or whatever. So this year we actually had a few more awards than normal. We had four, I believe four. I tried to look up my emails and make sure I didn't miss anyone, but I if I missed somebody, I'm sorry. But we had four President's Award. We gave one to you for all the work you've been doing. You volunteered to do the rendezvous, put on the rendezvous, but in the meantime, between that, you also came to the readiness summit that we did earlier in the year. That I think we talked about on the last podcast.
But that was a privilege, and I appreciate that opportunity. Thank you. That was an eye opener.
but but I mean, all of the involvement you've jumped straight in on a dead run and haven't slowed down, and we appreciate that. And that was a way we could show that to you. Um, we gave President's Award to Jed Ryback. Um, he gave us demos at the youth expo and the rendezvous. He helped run a booth at Carson City at one of the events that we went to. He's always a part of things and
Yep.
always willing to help. Jake Sylvester, same pretty much thing as Jed. He gave us a thing at demo at both of the youth event and the, which by the way was on back to back weekends. That won't happen again.
He is a single man, isn't he?
That was I was so burned out after the rendezvous that I didn't, like, it took me 3 weeks before I sent my reports up to our secretary because I was like, I gotta just not think about this stuff for a while.
Yeah.
Um, but we can always count on Jake when we need something or need help with something. He'll show up. And then Daniel Wasman, who works there at the recreation area, and helped work
Yes.
with you, was awesome to work with on getting us set up.
Yeah. So Daniel was amazing. He was one of the not a game warden, but he was one of the park rangers.
Mm-hmm.
And without going into any real detail on what he did do, he was more than willing to bend over backwards to accommodate what it is we were trying to get done. He was incredibly flexible, and a breath of fresh air when it came to working with a state employee on trying to make something happen well.
Mm-hmm.
So I cannot say enough for Daniel.
Yeah, I think he's a great guy. Moving on, we had our trapper of the year. We actually had two of them, but one of the guys called and told us to take his name off the list. He didn't. I think he. There was some confusion. There was three of us. It was like a game of telephone. So he,
Interesting.
Leo Como. He's our board director from Washoe, and he felt like there was other people that were more deserving. So that was his main reason, and I told him that I disagreed, and if he felt that way, he could send the email in to, whoever, and tell him, and I think he ended up doing that. So, because there wasn't a plaque that I remember in his name. I didn't have a picture with him, so, and I know he was there. We would have had a picture.
Very
So,
cool.
but he definitely deserves it. So, Leo, if you get it next year, you're not turning it in. But the guy that the other guy that got it along with Leo in the meeting was Dave Stowater. He's our other director out of Clark County. It goes without saying he's always brought in a impressive mixed bag of animals. We can always count on him when it comes to like showing up to meetings in Vegas, testifying in person, going out and getting signatures on petitions. There's not many people that work harder than Dave when it comes to that stuff. He's
That's
definitely
good.
a huge asset to the association. So,
Definitely well deserved.
yes, very well deserved. And then moving on, we had our Hall of Fame inductees this year, which was Carl Olmstead. He's another board member. He's been a board member for a long time.
So real quick on Carl,
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't there that day,
Mm-hmm.
and I got an opportunity to meet him because he's here in Fernley with me and present him, and that was I appreciate the opportunity to do that because I could tell he really he appreciated the gesture.
Perfect. I'm glad to hear that. I haven't been around as far as being on the board or the president for very long, and a lot of these other guys that are on the board have been around a lot longer than me, and that was one of the first names that went out, and in my opinion, well deserved. I mean, everyone honestly, it's a lot of work to be on the board, and it doesn't, it takes up a lot of time of in your mind of like worries and stress, and I got to get word out and stuff like that, and different
Mm-hmm.
things that come up that I know I didn't realize before taking it on. It's definitely a lot more work than I expected it to be. But
Well, I'll say when you're in when you're in those positions where you're trying to contribute to the group, and I can only speak for my participation this year in setting up the rendezvous, is there's that constant thing in the back of your head like, am I doing what I need to be doing? Am I doing enough? Am I being proactive enough? Am I being too lazy or not? You know what I mean? there's a
Yep.
constant worry of like, am I pulling my own weight?
Yep. Exactly. And it's definitely underappreciated position for
Sure.
everyone. So like with me, the board does a lot. I go to the board for a lot of things and get ideas from a lot of them and lean on a lot of them. And most of the time, like in the trappers post, it's my name that gets put out there when really it's everyone. It's not me.
Right.
It's the whole association. So I take this opportunity to thank every one of them that's on our board. If they're not in the Hall of Fame, they deserve it. They've been around a long time, most of them. So,
So
Carl,
other than Carl, well, who was the other one inductees?
we had Carl Lackey. He was, I believe, he's a game warden for Endow.
Okay.
And he's always been he always comes to the jaw sealing at the Fallon, and has always been a friend to the trappers. So, um, that
Good
was
deal.
one of the names that come up and was inducted. And then Chris Kropel. He is
Hmm.
he's been a part of the association as far as coming to the cell for a long time, longer than I've been around. I know that. And he usually wins the coyote or fox fur handling every year. He takes really good pride in his work. He does a good job. He's just always been around and supported us. So
See, this is one of those moments where you start thinking, man, I'm not doing enough because I don't even recognize some of these names. Like I've never, I've never met them, and which
Mhm.
I look forward to the opportunity to meet them in the coming years. That's for sure, because
Yeah.
um, that's quite the honor
Well,
to
and
be
there's
inducted
a
in.
lot of them too. There's a lot of names like that they're at every rendezvous or every one that they can reasonably make, and every meeting or at the first L every single year. And it's me too, being fairly new coming around. It's like I've met a lot of people the last couple of years at Fallon where it's like Joel will introduce me, hey, this is so and so. I'm like, oh, I've heard your name 100
Yeah,
times now, and
I got a face to it. Yeah, I know
yeah,
what you mean.
yeah. So um, I it definitely showing up to these things has helped me a lot with that.
Awesome.
But yeah,
Um, Anything else from the rendezvous you can think of?
um, I mean that was all the awards that I can remember we gave away. Like I said, if I forgot someone, I apologize. Call me, cuss me out, whatever make you feel better. I deserve it if I forgot you. So, um, I want to make sure that we thank Daniel, all of our guys that gave demos that we talked about, everyone who stepped in to like help cook because I didn't think far enough ahead to realize that while the food was cooking, we were doing the meeting. That I would be running the meeting, but I also was supposed to be cooking at the same time. So
Uh,
I had to ask for some volunteers. A couple of guys stepped up and helped cook the
which, by
chicken
the way,
left.
the food was tremendous. It was awesome, incredible,
Oh yeah,
and there was plenty. I mean, I don't think we were even close to running out.
no, we took a lot of stuff home, and I was trying to dish it out to everyone, so I didn't have to take anything home. It
Yeah.
was a nice turnout. But yes, for everyone that stepped up, helped cook, helped with anything we needed throughout the day. Um, also, Logan with Endow, he brought out that archery or not the archery, the BB gun shooting
That's
range.
right.
I want to make sure we thank him. That was awesome. He's done that the last couple years now. Um,
And I'm glad you remembered him because he spent the entire day over there manning that BB gun thing. And to be honest, there wasn't that many takers. There really wasn't that many kids, which was unfortunate. But
yeah,
the ones that did take advantage of, I know truly appreciated the fact that he set it up. So absolutely, definitely thank him.
yep, for sure. And all everyone that came, everyone that showed up, everyone that was there, bought raffle tickets, entered the raffle, attended the meeting, participated in the events. It all adds and is a big help to the association.
Yep.
We're
Yep.
not a huge association, and every little bit helps. Everyone that showed up and bought tickets, um, it's a huge support. So everyone that was there, thank you.
No, totally agree. I can't say any more than that. That would be sufficient. So we'll leave it there. Um, is there anything else that you want to talk about on this particular show?
Um, no, not anything I can think that's super pressing. I want to wish everyone a good luck this year. Tight chains. It should be a good year.
Absolutely. And just to touch on that one more time, what we'll do is we'll plan for a January recording.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be the beginning of the next quarter. That'll get us the majority of the way through the season. Of course, Bobcats will still be good, but anyways, that'll get us about halfway through the season. Prior to, we'll have some good information when it comes to um, the westerns next summer. We'll have some good information when it comes to the first sale. Although that thing is so smoothly ran at this point, where you could probably reprint the information from 5 years ago and it'd still be applicable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a tremendous effort that they put on as well. That turns out so good. It really is, at least from my perspective, very convenient. It's very much a blessing the fact that it's here in Fallon. I
Oh yeah.
know it's a struggle for some folks to get stuff down here, but it's local, so I certainly appreciate it. Um, so yeah, look for everybody listening. Look forward to the next podcast to be out mid-January with a ton of good information, of course. And then I would say the last thing I would say is don't hesitate to reach out. If you have my email, it's scabina@gmail.com. If you have ideas on what you want to hear, what you want to see, and of course, when this thing gets posted to YouTube, the comment section is always open as well. If you have ideas, because we're just kind of making this up as we go along. So hopefully everybody finds it useful. They find it entertaining, and look forward to talking to you next time.
Awesome. Thank you, Daryl. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.